Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the Luminihsan podcast. I'm here joined by beautiful ladies here and most especially by Kak Iris Bella. Kak, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good.
Alhamdulillah. It's so lovely to have Kak Ibal here with us today.
Thank you.
Everyone knows Kak Ibal as an actor who has been in the entertainment industry since she was a young teenager, right? But beyond that, she's also a woman who has experienced the ups and downs of friendship in the public eye, navigating through the journey of trust and loyalty and betrayals, all as a public figure, right? In an industry where maybe friendships can be somewhat fleeting, right? And all these moments as a public figure, I'm sure you've had times where you question yourself, like, are these people actually here because they're genuinely want to be my friend, or were there other ulterior motives that must have motivated them to come closer to me, right? So can you explain to me what is the hardest part of finding real friends in the entertainment industry?
Right. It's being a person itself is pretty hard because you get judged a lot, right? You get judged by your friends, your family and everything. And especially when you're a public figure, you know, you're in the spotlight and there's like a lot of judging going on. And then there's always comments and there's likes and dislikes. And there's like always people telling me what to do, what not to do, what to wear, what not to wear, who to be friends with, who not to be friends with. So it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard. And it's a struggle sometimes to find a friend who really wants to be with you, wants to be your friend for the right reasons, you know, because sometimes they just, mostly, you know, they want to be your friend because your status, your popularity, your followers, you know, and then, it's hard to find a genuine. So when I do find across someone who is really, sincere, I really try to stay close, who brings positivity to my life, you know. So, I mean, in Islam, we are reminded to choose our friends wisely, right? Because our friends, our close friends are the ones who shape our character.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, and especially our faith, our iman as well. So it was, it's still a struggle. I mean, it's not about me, also probably everyone as well. I remembered when I started my career, when I was 14 years old, I was just a teenager, you know, trying to have fun and probably didn't really listen to my parents, of course. So all I wanted was like, I want to do what my friends are doing. I want to wear what my friends are wearing. I want to go where my friends are going. So it's really, really important, I think, to find the right circle, the right friends who brings you to the positivity, and especially now, you know, to really just uplift us and probably bring us closer, you know, towards goodness.
That's true. That's true. I completely agree with that. And the way you answer that really reflects on what intentions you set in your life. Because for me personally, I noticed that when I tell myself I want to commit to learning more about my faith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kind of paved the way for me to meet people that aligns with the same intentions.
I think it's a lot easier, don't you think, to find true friends when you're like probably like getting towards hijrah. I think it's a lot easier than before when we're just dunyawi and everything. We're just trying to have fun, going to places where it's viral, and then going like eating things that are like just like being FOMO. I think that's a lot harder to find genuine friends. But when we set our niyat, that we want to be closer to Allah, I think it's a lot easier to find genuine, true friends.
MashaAllah. So you have been surrounded by a few good friends that have led you to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But obviously, for your job, there are certain demands or hidden pressures where you're supposed to still maintain connections with people that you may not find so genuine or actually drains your energy. You know, how do you find the balance between being kind but also making sure you're protecting yourself and creating boundaries?
Right. That's pretty hard though. But I think being kind, you just have to do that. One way or another, you have to be kind. That's like the ultimatum, you know. But when it comes to work-wise or business, I think it's strictly professional. You know, it's like for me, that kind of relationship is totally like a transaction. It's like give and take. What it is I need for my work. Is it like for my job or anything? It's strictly professional. But when it comes to relationship with like friends, your spouse, your partner, or your family, it's totally genuine. It should be sincere. It shouldn't be like hard. It should just like flow easily. So it's hard when you're being an introvert, because you come across a group of people that's so not you, and then you have to, for work-wise probably, and then you have to be kind and everything. You have to talk what they're talking about, and it drains a lot of energy, of course, But then I think to balance it, just to have the kind of thing you do when you bring back your energy, whether it's being with yourself, praying, or for me, it's just being with the family, and especially with the kids, it just drains my energy back,
Mashallah, mashallah. But with friendships, again, I feel like there are certain stages, right? When you feel like you found a genuine friend, you establish trust, right? And then there's expected loyalty between one another. But then when trust is broken and then when loyalty is questioned, that's when you get betrayal.
Yes.
Right? Have you ever been betrayed by a friend that you deeply trust?
Of course. Okay. Of course. I think everyone here has probably been through betrayal, right? It's just the different levels maybe of betrayal that we face. But yes, I have been to betrayal, and it's really, it's shocking how sometimes the people you trust the most, the people you love the most are the ones who hurt you the most, right? It's like, when you really trust someone, oh, no way, she wouldn't do that to me. I trust her so much. We've been through thick and thin. No way. I love her too much. We've been through everything. No way she could do that to me. And then bam, something hits you really hard, and it's so painful. It's really, really painful. And then, you get trust issues, and then it might make you feel like you're in rock bottom. Yeah, of course, that's the thing. And then, it's a really hard lesson to learn, betrayal. And that makes me learn that you have to trust your instincts more, and then you have to rely on Allah's guidance as well. And there were definitely, for me also, like, back then, looking back, there were probably signs that I ignored, and then just because I didn't want to do the uncomfortable thing, I didn't want to do the hard thing in letting go or walking away, because sometimes I feel, I've heard about this before, you cannot see the bigger picture if you are in it.
That's true.
Have you heard that?
Yeah.
And that's what I felt. That's what I felt before, because people kept saying, don't do that. They gave me signs. I felt the signs. I felt the signs. Like, this doesn't feel right. This person doesn't feel like she's genuine. There's something wrong here. But I just forgot about that because I wanted to sustain the relationship. I didn't want to do the hard thing. I didn't want to be in the uncomfortable position of letting go. And that was really hard. But sometimes I learned this the hard way, by the way. I learned this the hard way. Sometimes you have to just be brave enough to just take a step back and just take a look at the bigger picture to see what's actually right and what's wrong, So that's the lesson I learned from betrayal, and it's definitely was not easy at all.
I can understand how painful it must be to be hurt by someone that you truly trust, because it was our decision to let them in our lives, right? So we start questioning our own judgment. Why didn't I see the signs? Why did I ignore it? But if I could speak from my personal experience, but if betrayal taught me anything, it's that to not put my expectations on people, but to put my expectations on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
I think that was the reason, because I didn't rely on Allah, and I didn't put Allah in the presence of the relationship, and that's why it went the wrong way, you know. I think that's what's most important.
But I want to go back to the point about loyalty. So you talked about toxic friendships, right? Toxic friendships can come in different forms. But one that I want to discuss is about the double-edged sword concept of loyalty. Because when it comes to loyalty, it's a very heavy word, right? It means a lot. It means to always be there for someone through the thick and thin, right? But sometimes people mistake loyalty as blind support, right? When you care about someone, you want what's best for them. But when it comes to blind support, it means that you are expected to support them even though you know this is not good for you, right? Have you ever been in such situations before?
Yes. Well, loyalty means being there for someone, standing by someone through thick and thin, right? Just being genuine, being sincere. But loyalty should not cost your well-being.
Yeah.
It should not cost your faith or your values. You know, it shouldn't be taking away your faith. It shouldn't be taking away your values, what you believe in. So when you are loyal to someone who is doing harm, if you are loyal to someone who is taking you away from your values and your faith, that's not loyalty at all. You know, that's something that's really unhealthy. And it's a lot easier said than done, because we are emotionally attached. That's what I'm saying. But sometimes we have to be present, and the fact that having boundaries. That's why it's so important to really grow our iman, grow our faith, to know having really strong signs to read like red flags in relationships and friendships, right? So I think that's what's most important. So loyalty shouldn't be about that. It shouldn't be taking away from what's good from your life. So loyalty should be with someone who is in the same levels, aligned to what's good in Islam, you know? So if it's other than that, then that's not loyalty at all.
I like how your matrix is anything that's related to Allah's way. Because that makes everything very clear. Like setting the boundaries become very, I wouldn't say easy, but at least it becomes more straightforward. No more blurry lines, because you would know whatever Allah dislikes, then you cut away from your life, right? But whatever Allah likes, you let them in your life. But setting personal boundaries is not something that's easy, right? Especially for a public figure like you, and even for everyone in this room, I feel, because of the pressures to always, you know, be attentive to people regardless. If you could give us a tip to set personal boundaries so that people can respect that, what would you say it would be?
Well, the boundaries is, I think, it has to be aligned to our faith. That's definitely for sure. And sometimes, Allah makes it so clear, especially with the Quran, and it's a guide to our life. And it's so clear sometimes, you know, but you kind of mess with it with your emotions.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and then especially when you're a public figure, you know, you're in the spotlight, and then sometimes I think I know what I'm doing right, but people look at it like it's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Sometimes it's like that.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think you should rely on what people think and how they're gonna respond, but it's you are the one in the relationship. You're in the friendship, so you know what's right. And especially if you put Allah in the center, and then you have your boundaries there. So if it should be aligned to what you believe in, if it brings you positivity to your life, if this friendship is good for you, it uplifts you, you know, and it makes you stronger, it makes you become a better person, then that should be the friendship to really stick on. But if it's not, then you have to set your boundaries. And I mean, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, also reminds us, right, that a person's religion is on the friends, like the friends, right? So you kind of know how your iman is when you know what your circuit is like. So you have to be careful who you be friends with, right? So yeah, that's one thing.
Wow, that's very remarkable. I mean, to have that mindset is not something that comes easily with us, right? It takes a lot of lessons in life. It takes a lot of journeys that you had to go through to come to that state of mind.
Yeah.
But with most of us, I feel like there's a lot of noise everywhere. You talked about how as a public figure, people will always say, tell you what to wear, tell you who to be friends with. But even non-public figures, we have people
also judging,
in our surroundings who would demand certain things. You know, how do we cut that noise? Because it gets very noisy in our heads, right? But how do we cut that and stay true to that intention of finding the path that Allah likes?
Honestly, you could ask for me because I get a lot of comments. I get judged a lot. I mean, alhamdulillah, my life has been so colorful and I've been through a lot. And there's a lot of comments, always like, she didn't do it right. She should have done this. She should have done that. What the hell? What is she doing? There's a lot of comments, negative comments. And yes, it brings you down. But until how long?
Yeah.
Until how long do you want to listen to people who they don't even involve in your life?
Exactly.
Especially for me as a public figure, like, I love my fans, I love my followers. And when they pray for good things about me, when they give like solutions for good causes, yes, I accept it. But when it's negative comments, especially like people telling you what to do and what not to do, yes, it gets really noisy, but then you have to just know what's most important is we have to protect our peace.
Yeah.
We have to protect our peace, and what's most important is our happiness. Because for how long do you want to listen to people?
It's draining, right?
I mean, you saw the picture. There's this thing on the internet, when there's like two people, a wife and the husband with a donkey.
Yeah.
And then there's like the wife gets on the donkey, and then people will comment like, the husband is afraid of the wife.
I know
That's why he rides, she rides the donkey. And then if it's the other way around, how come the husband rides the donkey, the wife doesn't? He's not thinking about the wife. And then if they both just walk, they're not using the donkey as so there's always gonna be a comment on what you're going to do, So I think what's most important is your peace and your happiness, and just being kind, genuinely kind. And I think one way or another, people will find out the true you. And then I think that's what's most important.
But if we want to strengthen this, self-fulfillment where we tell ourselves, okay, I'm enough with making sure I'm happy. Where should we start with that first? Like, how do we start becoming more fulfilled with ourselves?
So the first thing I think we need to fix is ourselves. Because there's no energy in the world that could fix another person.
I know.
You have to fix yourself first. You have to fix the way you see the world. You have to fix the way you see people. I think that's what's most important, because at the end later, I mean, after this life, it's all nafsi, it's all about us, ourselves, how we carry ourselves, how our deeds and our sins, it's all back to ourselves. So I think that's what's most important, is reflecting on yourself.
Self-reflection is the key, right? Because in the akhirat, Allah's not going to ask, what's your responsibility to the person behind you or the person beside you, but how are you responsible for yourself? So that's why we have to work on ourselves first, and then be fulfilled with not just ourselves, but with the teachings of Deen.
Yeah.
And then from there onwards, it's going to be easier for us to walk our path without all these noise and all these distractions surrounding us, right? So about genuine friendships. In this age of social media, right, everyone wants to show off who they're with, what they're doing, and certain friendships becomes a little performative in a sense where they're just there to tell people that, hey, I'm friends with this. Hey, I get access to this. Have you had your own share of experience in that way?
Yes and no. I don't know. I can relate or not relate. I think the difference is from the niyat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause we're in the world of influencers. It's how you call it? It's a job now.
Yeah, it's a job. That's true.
Before we used social media just to express ourselves, but now it's a job. People get income from it. So I cannot really say it's a bad thing to do, because everyone is doing it. Like,
that's true.
But that's how you get your insights and everything. But I think the most important is what your niyat is in the beginning. If it's for your job, it's just to have insights and viewers. And people have different purposes in being an influencer. Whether it's to support the family, you never know.
That's true.
You never know. I think it's just the way of seeing it, seeing the content. And I think that's kind of the hard thing now for us, because everything is so easy to access, and we see a lot of things online, and then you get judgy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you get judgy. But then again, people have certain purposes in their life and why they made the content. But I think, being an influencer, it's hard sometimes because your niyat is good, but then people see it in a bad way.
That's true.
And then we're responsible in akhirat later for what we do with all our fame and our popularity. So it's a struggle.
I can see how that is very difficult for you, especially as a public figure and as an influencer in a day where social media is basically our world. The entire world is attached to our phone.
Yes.
Everything is accessible. Someone who doesn't know you might think they know you just from what they see on social media, right? And for the Gen Zs who are very, very fond of social media, what message do you have for them that would make them wiser in navigating social media and friendships in general?
Social media, well, I don't have the answer to that yet. It's pretty hard. We're responsible in what we see and we're responsible in what we comment. So you just have to be careful. But when it comes to relationships, I think for Gen Zs nowadays, I think it's really, really important to choose our friends wisely. Yeah, because if you want to check your iman, if you want to check how the character of the person is, you check their surroundings. Yeah. I mean, if you're in a circle, and you're the only one, as for girls maybe, you're the only one who's wearing the hijab in your circle, and the others are not. And you're the only one who goes to the mosque. You're the only one who goes to prayer. Okay, it's a good thing. It's not like you're going to stop right away because your friends are not using hijab and everything. But then, by time, you start to normalize. Oh, she's not wearing, it's okay. When it's supposed to be wajib, right? When you wear hijab. But you start to normalize. That's the first step. And then after you normalize, and then, because she's your bestie, and then someone comments maybe about what she's wearing, and then you start to support her. You defend her. Right? And, no, she's comfortable. At least she's expressing herself. Let her be. She's not wearing hijab. It's all right. But at least she's expressing herself. She's comfortable of her own being. Let her be. You start to defend her.
Yeah.
You start to normalize, then you start to defend her, and then who knows what else you're going to be when you're in that kind of circle. So I think it's really, really important you're in a circle who really uplifts you, and really make you grow, especially in your faith. Because now what else we can hold on to other than our faith? Really, there's so many things going on in the world and so many, it's a roller coaster, right? And so I think the most thing we have to hold on is our faith.
MashaAllah. And faith becomes the pivotal part of our lives because everything centers around that. Our decisions, what we choose to be, who we choose to be friends with. And another type of friendship I actually want to discuss that I think is a hot topic amongst Gen Z as well is the lifelong friendship of marriage. Right. So what I know, marriage is also a type of friendship, but it's a very sacred bond between two people that will lead a path together in this world and hopefully in Jannah as well. What's your idea of friendship in a marriage?
Marriage is like a lifetime friendship. I think that's the most valuable friendship you have is your spouse.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you fall in love at first, of course, but then afterwards, you just become really good friends. So I think if you're able to communicate with that person, you can really truly be yourself with that person. I think that's what's most important. And the most important also, I think it should be mutual respect. That's what I think. And so mutual respect for one another, kindness, of course, and really accepting the boundaries of each other. So yeah, marriage it's wonderful when you meet the right person, of course. And how do we meet? I think for sure we involve Allah in every single aspect of our life, especially finding our spouses. That's why when I see you, Celica, right now, she goes to the classes, right, for marriages, and she doesn't even have a husband yet. And then I think that's the thing that Gen Z should do that, because marriage is it's tough sometimes, because it's two people come together with different, backgrounds. So having the knowledge beforehand that should be really good. And that's something I didn't have. So that's why looking at you, I'm like, wow, amazed.
Inshallah. I'm still learning, and inshallah will be a continuous learner for a lifelong journey. But I read in the Quran, and I've also heard scholars say this, in marriage, love is not the foundation, right? There's sakinah, mawaddah, warahmah. So it's about finding peace, and then about compassion and mutual respect, as you said before, right? So love is fleeting, but these three pillars are the ones that help us stay, at least stay committed to the sacred bond that we've already expressed to each other and also in front of Allah, right? And I think when it comes to friendships, that also is the key. Friendships in general, like we can't just base friendship on love. Has to be based on mutual respect, on finding peace in one another, because as you previously said, we have to find peace in ourselves, and the people around us maybe can help support that as well. So I think it's really beautiful how friendships can be applied in so many different levels of relationships, whether it's platonic or whether it's romantic. And if you can give us one tip or one key message from all of the experiences you've had, the ups and downs about friendships, whether, again, it's friendships in the household or friendships with your circle, what would that message be, especially to our Gen Z friends who are watching?
MashaAllah. For me, I think friendship should be based on a mutual respect, of course, and it should be aligned to what's good in your values and your boundaries. And it should just go through like naturally, you don't have to be someone else. You're comfortable with yourself. You can express yourself fully. And for sure, I think the best types of relationships are the ones you have to hold on to, are the ones that make you closer to Allah.
Inshallah.
That's the most important thing.
And when we have this intention of wanting to be closer to Allah, right? We start to seek people who support that intention as well, right? People who also shares the same values and, aligns the same goals as well. But sometimes they feel a bit lost, like, I don't know where to look for these people. I already have this intention, but where can I find them? How would you think, what message would help them to find these types of people, you think, or like any guide that you can give?
It's a lot easier nowadays. It's a lot easier than it was 10 years ago, right? 5 years ago, especially with the media now. So many communities, right? And there's like right now we're in one. Yeah. This is like a beautiful little Jannah garden, I think.
Mashallah.
And there's a lot of places like this, communities like this, and you just have to be brave enough to reach out a little. I mean, it's just tiny little steps, right? Either it's you start watching how you say kajian, online, right? And then after that, maybe be brave enough to come one offline, join a community. I think that's what's most important, because for me, when I had my trials in life, it was really awful. I felt alone, right? And then I couldn't think clearly. And so what was most important for me, how I got back up, is because of my surroundings, of the people I was friends with. Because back then, when I had the struggle, I felt like I wasn't enough, everything I did was wrong. This came to me because I was awful of my sins and everything. I didn't feel good about myself. And then these people, my friends, they pulled me up, and then ayo kita ke kajian, ayo semangat lagi gitu. And then they pulled me closer, to Allah, and that made me really, it made me feel nice. And then that's how I got back up. There's no other way. That's the most beautiful way.
So there's no reason to make excuses for ourselves anymore, right? Because everything is so accessible for social media judgment, yes, but accessible for the good things as well. Finding communities where we can improve our deen, work on ourselves, find circles that support our intentions to be closer to Allah. Even starting with small steps is already part of the progress, right? Because you don't immediately win. You don't immediately become Mrs. Soleha.
Of course not.
Of course not.
I don't think there's that title at all.
But there's that baby steps you have to take to get to a point where you finally feel at peace.
Yeah, just take one little step, even if you cannot see the staircase.
Mashallah.
Yeah.
Right. It has been such a lovely time talking about friendship and finding peace with you. If you could leave just one last message for everyone in here to conclude this discussion, what would that message be?
Never leave Allah,
Mashallah.
because Allah will never leave you. That's the thing I could say, I think.
Mashallah. That's such a beautiful way to conclude this discussion. Again, we center all our intentions and all our niyat to Allah, because if we find guidance through Allah, Allah will definitely show us the best path for us, because only Allah knows what's in it for us, what's good for us, right? So who else to seek guidance to than the Creator himself? Thank you so much for joining us, Kak Ibel. It has been such a lovely conversation. Thank you, ladies, for being part of this conversation. Hopefully everyone has had a taste of this insightful discussion, and hopefully we can get out of this room with a more
positive vibe.
Thank you so much for everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.